After 2 lost seasons for the Warriors since losing the 2019 NBA Finals, Golden State now has the 4th highest title odds on the FanDuel Sportsbook, ranking behind only the Nets, last year's champions, the Lakers, and this year's champs, the Bucks. Considering Klay Thompson won't be back until at least December, and since they haven't made the playoffs in 2 years, these odds might be too steep right now for anyone interested in placing a bet on them, but it's easy to see the potential of a team led by Steph and Draymond with the upcoming return of Klay. And after adding shooters and veterans through free agency, plus raw talent in the draft, the Warriors are deeper than they've been since before they acquired Kevin Durant. To meet expectations now, though, or even become the favorites again, Klay still needs to become the same old Klay. Steph needs to do what he did last year, and Draymond still needs to defend at an excellent level. But also, their young players need to offer something. Today, we're going to talk about Kuminga's role, but first, let's start with Golden State's second-year big man, James Wiseman. He struggled as a rookie, but displayed potential throughout the year, showing some of his unrefined skills, but also the type of things the Warriors need. Wiseman's ability to run the floor is his best talent today. At 7 feet, he's speedy, he hustles, he's explosive. He made countless highlight plays on the break last season, outrunning everyone to position himself inside for opportunities to score. And in the half court, he's capable of finishing inside using dump-off passes or coming off of designed cuts. Chemistry built with Steph throughout the season as he learned how and when to cut as Curry drew the gaze of 2 defenders. If Wiseman screened for Steph behind the arc and that pulled defenders outside, he could thrive with a wide open paint. And though Golden State ranked last in pick and rolls per game, he was similarly a lob threat when rumbling down the lane since Steph attracts so much attention as a ball handler. But the Warriors just didn't draft an athlete. He flashes skill off the dribble, whether it's a spin move in space or coming off a handoff and dribbling toward the basket to take advantage of slow, out-of-position defenders. And he'd hit some jump shots that have his most optimistic evaluators believing he can someday be a go-to scoring option. Some of his flashes of stardom are pretty ridiculous, which is why it would be foolish to give up on him despite his struggles. And he did struggle, though. Of the 22 bigs to attempt at least 9 shots per game last season, Wiseman was the least efficient as a scorer. Marvin Bagley and Yusuf Nurkic were the most comparable to him, while DeAndre Ayton and Rashawn Holmes were the highest percentage scorers because of their interior ability. Wiseman was inefficient because of everything away from the rim. He shot only 37% on post-ups and isolations, one of the worst marks in the league. His face-up jumper rarely fell, he was far less comfortable when contested, and he generally displayed a lack of advanced footwork. Too often, even when he was matched up against shorter defenders, he'd settle for a push shot rather than using his size to take advantage. Wiseman needs years of practice on his post-ups and isolations to become a more seasoned scorer. But scoring is the beginning of his issues here. He also had 26 assists to 60 turnovers. He'd frequently bobble simple passes or lose control as he caught it like a wide receiver turning his eyes before the ball is in his hands. He was slow to read the floor, he made far too many sloppy passes, and the Warriors need their bigs to execute simple plays. Wiseman often couldn't. Wiseman's highlight moments are incredible, but the flaws are real. Touch and feel for the game are really tough skills to develop. But with that said, a big part of me thinks he deserves a break. He played only 3 college games, and then because of the pandemic, he had no offseason, no summer league, and no training camp. He missed games due to COVID. He missed games due to a wrist injury. He was playing for a team with one of the more complex offensive systems in the NBA before tearing his meniscus to end his rookie year. All young bigs deserve time to develop when they are undeniably raw, and it's not just on offense either for him. Wiseman also had moments using length and athleticism on defense to block shots at the rim, but like many young bigs, for the most part, he looked kind of lost. I recently had a conversation on the Ringer NBA Show podcast with Marcus Thompson, who covers the Warriors for The Athletic, and I thought he perfectly summed up Wiseman's defense.
They need him to be like JaVale McGee, right? Like, I'm going to protect the rim, I'm going to finish, I'm going to rebound, I'm going to run the floor. The larger issue was defense, right? To me, like, he was just too susceptible defensively. You know, like when TJ McConnell is getting to the rim on you, like, there's a problem because he should get the shot off, right? He should be doing some circus MJ reverses, flipping off in order to get it off. But you just throwing hezzies and whatever. But you could move him last year. You could like throw a fake or lean one way. You could get him going in the direction you want, which was just full on inexperience by him. So they need him to be able to stay on the court defensively so he can not be in foul trouble, not be jumping at everything, not be out of place, and protect the rim.
That's 100% right. With AD and Jokic looming as a potential opponent in the playoffs, the Warriors need Wiseman to be someone who can survive on the floor in a series. We just watched how critical Ayton was all playoffs long for the Suns. If Wiseman can't compete, then that means Golden State is going to have to find another big, over-rely on Looney, or play small just way too often. And if the Warriors do play small, though, that's where things get really interesting involving Jonathan Kuminga, who they picked 7th in the 2021 draft, because Kuminga can offer a lot of the same things that Wiseman can, and as Marcus argued, maybe even more than that.
Truth be told, they're playing with Looney, who's giving them not much offensively. He's a screen setter, right? He's going to make the pocket interior passing. He'll finish sometimes, but they need to upgrade that part, especially if Draymond's not giving you 14 points a night, right? So to me, that's a big deal. But I do think that's where Kuminga can come in, because like that dude is a little bit different. You know what he is? He's something they do not have on the roster at all. They do not have a dude who's 6'8", 240. And like I said, like get him the ball at the free throw line. One move, he's to the basket. Like he's there. One move, not a lot of dancing. Like they don't have a guy like that, yo. Like I wonder, obviously he was doing it against Summer League, but I wonder how his handle holds up, at that level.
He of course had the crossover into the loud dunk.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a slower crossover, but it worked in Summer League.
It is, and it works in Summer League. That's what I'm wondering if he can do that. Also, in Summer League, he's like running a show, so he's playing a lot from the wing and from the top, and he needs to be inside the three-point line on the wing, right? Like he needs to catch there so he can hit and go. And I think that's where playing with Steph, playing with Draymond will help, because, once he starts learning those back doors, those aren't like floaters when he gets it. Those are, I'm taking off, and I think the dude under the basket is smaller than me, so I'm going to finish strong. Like, they don't have that. So I do actually feel like he can do something with this team if he takes that seriously, right? Kuminga's got a bit of star power, right? Like that dude know he's nice. He's got a bit of like
he had the big grin on his face after having the dunk. But I mean, so like with him, like he had these moments in Summer League, right? This is not a knock on him, but he did only shoot 37% from the field, 28% from three, 65% of the line. So to your point, you don't necessarily want Kuminga creating his own shot from perimeter. You want him on the interior doing the simple stuff, cutting, setting screens, attacking closeouts.
But do you think they learned from Wiseman on that? Because they were basically they like, Wiseman, just do what you do. They were basically like treating it like a workout. Like, we want to see what you can do, so just go, right? Do you think they learned, like, maybe you should do that?
I would hope so. And I mean, that's what I thought was so, interesting about Golden State Summer League, because they didn't do it a lot, but we saw, Kuminga play a little bit of small ball 5. That can help mitigate some of the shortcomings as a shooter and emphasize the athletic traits that you're talking about, getting to the rim, cutting to the rim, like getting him the ball in the short roll near the free throw line, one or two dribbles, get to the basket. We see teams do this, like whether it's Bruce Brown in Brooklyn, Miles Bridges in Charlotte with non-bigs. And Kuminga is big at 6'8", 240, like you said. Do you see Kerr utilizing Kuminga in that type of small ball 5 role at all?
Yeah, especially with Draymond at the 5. I think that's the big problem. The big problem with the Warriors was they had to play Draymond and Wiseman together, because they was basically forcing Wiseman, and neither one of those guys did that. Right? Like they just didn't. And then the other option was one of those two with Kevon Looney, and he doesn't do that. And the other option was Eric Paschall, but he wasn't good as the 4, and he was only good as the small ball 5. So when you put somebody with Draymond, he's got to be a shooter, Bielitsa, or he's got to be a slasher, somebody who can finish. And I feel like that's where Kuminga can do it, because Draymond's going to be at the top anyway, right? Like, he's going to be playing point directed traffic. He's somebody to cut back door and bang that junk, right? Or, Steph needs somebody who can do them long outlets too. I feel like that's where Kuminga's lane would be.
Everything we're talking about raises questions about whether the Warriors will be patient with their young players, Wiseman, Kuminga, Moses Moody, because this team is trying to win a championship today. And if Wiseman or Kuminga don't seem ready to contribute for a playoff team, the question will be, Will they flip those guys in a deal for a star that might become available, like Bradley Beal or Ben Simmons? And this whole topic raises questions about whether Steve Kerr can become adaptable, because we already saw how slow he was to adjust to his personnel last season. Will Wiseman's role be simplified this year? Will Kuminga get utilized in the type of way that we're talking about? We're going to find all that out really soon, and it's going to play a big role in whether Golden State is worthy of the hype they're having, especially with those odds. And during my podcast with Marcus, we talked about Kerr's adaptability, as well as how the Warriors are balancing their short-term goals to try to win a championship versus their long-term goals of sustaining success past the Steph, Clay, and Draymond era. Marcus interviewed Steph this offseason, so I found his insight really amazing. And if you want to listen to that podcast, find the Ringer NBA show wherever you get your podcast, or click one of the links in the description below. While you're down there, please subscribe to the Ringer and leave a comment letting me know what you think about how patient the Warriors should be with their young guys. Thanks for watching, and hope you have a fun rest of your day.